Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ohio Energy Project's Career in Energy Virtual Field Trip. I'm Abby, your moderator for today, and we will explore one of the nation's largest recycling centers today. It's located right here in Columbus, Ohio. Before we get started, we want to welcome all of the classrooms joining us virtually and go over a few housekeeping tasks. If you have questions during our trip, you can post those questions in the question and answer box. This will be via Zoom. If you are joining YouTube, there is no live chat. You will need to go back into the Zoom, into the registration email if you're wanting to answer those questions live. Along with our classrooms, we also want to thank NiSource and Columbia Gas for supporting the Careers in Energy program, and a big thanks to Rumpke for hosting us at their facility today. Before we introduce our host, I would love to give you some information about Rumpke. Rumpke, a waste and recycling management system, has been keeping homes and businesses clean for more than 90 years. Today, Rumpke employs over 4,000 environmental experts, servicing millions of customers, including regions of Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dayton, Waverly, and servicing Central Kentucky and Southern Indiana. The award-winning family-owned company operates 16 landfills and 16 recycling centers. Other Rumpke divisions include Rumpke Portable Restrooms, Rumpke Haul-Away, Rumpke Hydraulics, as well as environmental solution company, the William Thomas Group. I would love to introduce our host for today, Jeff Snyder, the Senior Vice President of Recycling and Sustainability. Jeff, could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the field and what we're seeing behind you?
My name is Jeff Snyder, Senior Vice President of Recycling here at Rumpke, and welcome to our Recycling and Resource Center here in Central Ohio, specifically the city of Columbus. Yes, absolutely. So behind me right now is our tipping floor. This is a 32,000 square foot tipping floor where all of the recycling across Central Ohio and Northern Ohio comes. We service the city of Columbus, the city of Cleveland, and 50 counties within the state of Ohio. All of that material comes here and is dumped on our tipping floor where the process of sorting and recycling really starts. So as you can see out the window here, we have probably about a couple hundred tons of material sitting on the floor. You can see a large couple pieces of equipment out there that's pushing the material up to the material handler, where the material handler would grab the material and put it into the metering bins, which actually starts the process. That material will come up into these two very large cylinder trommels. The trommels are the first step in the process where we actually are sizing the material before anybody even sees it or touches it. And the first thing that we take out after we size material is glass. So the glass is very important. The glass is very abrasive. We want to get the glass out immediately, and that's the first thing that we do in the process. This facility has about 700 to 750 tons a day that comes into the facility. We can handle more than that. We'd love to have more than that, and we're out working to get more of that type of material into this facility. We really focus a lot on access. We focus a lot on trust. We focus a lot on how people can participate in the recycling program, which is extremely important to us. And so we're constantly out there trying to educate and tell people really what happens to the recycling when you either put it in your curb at your house or you drop it off at a drop-off. So any questions around that, Abby?
I do. I have a lot of questions for you, Jeff. The first one that I have is from Mrs. B and Mrs. Mills' class. They're asking, in a week, how much garbage do you typically see that comes in?
Yeah, so maybe I can talk about daily. I haven't done the math on weekly, but daily into this facility, we're probably seeing somewhere between 20 and 25 tons a day of trash that people put in the recycling that we really don't want in there. We tell people don't put in there, but they put it in there anyway, so we have to deal with that. This facility is about 12 to 13% residual. What that means is that's material that people put in the recycling bin that we can't sort and recover and get to where it's supposed to go. As you think about that nationally, that's really good. Yes, we want it always to be better, but it's really good when you think about recycling across the country.
Mrs. Jacobs' class would like to know, on average, maybe a week, a day, how many recycling trucks are coming into the facility?
Yep. So on every single day, we have probably between 100 and 150 recycling trucks that come in here to this facility every day. Those trucks are very different, right? They can be front load trucks, they can be side load trucks, they can be rear load trucks. So it depends on what type of market that we're going out on the street to collect. We also have tractor trailers that come into this facility. So if you kind of go back to the window, you can see an apparatus out there in that middle bay where we can actually bring tractor trailers into the facility and dump 20 tons of material at a time, which allows us to bring in recycling from farther away.
And then I have two more questions before we move to our next spot, if you could help us out with this, Jeff.
Sure.
I've been lucky enough to be at your facility as well, so I feel like I know this answer, but I would of course love to hear from you. Mrs. S was wanting to know, is there a smell to the facility?
Yeah, I always get that, and it's very funny when you come into the plant. Everybody asks about how much food waste do you have, and does it smell? The answer to that is yes. There's a little bit of a smell. I'm going to describe it the best I can. The smell that you probably get when you walk into our facility or any material recovery facility across the country. And by the way, there's 365 of these across the country, so there's a bunch of people doing this. But we think these are two of the largest in Cincinnati and Columbus. But the smell you get is kind of that stale milk smell. And it's not like there's a lot of milk that's kind of in the milk jugs that come in here. But that's kind of the smell that you get. So it's a mixture of that, maybe that stale milk and a little bit whatever's left in some of the food containers. But it's definitely not overwhelming, and it's definitely not like you're walking to the top of a landfill or something like that. So that's how I would describe the smell.
Yeah, I remember coming in there and just being baffled at it did not smell that, and it was very clean.
Yes.
The last question before we move on is from Mrs. K, and she was wanting to know, maybe specifically in this area, what safety concerns are the top priority when you're working with recyclable materials?
Yeah, we were just kind of talking about this morning, and one of the big safety concerns that we have in our material recovery facilities are lithium-ion batteries. Lithium-ion batteries cause fires. So when you gyrate, puncture, or move around a battery, so think about all the yard equipment that you would have in your garage that would have a battery or a cordless drill that has a battery connected to it. There's a lot of things going around in the vape world, and all these greeting cards and all these things that have all these very, very small batteries. When those batteries get to our recycling plant and they gyrate around, they heat up and they internally combust, and which causes fires. So that is a major problem. Everybody asks, well, what keeps you up at night, Jeff? That's what keeps me up at night, is that I get a phone call and says, you know what, your facility is on fire. So we are driving across our entire MRF shed about batteries and what to do with batteries and how to properly dispose of batteries. We don't want batteries in our landfills either. So, we ask folks to contact their solid waste district, whatever county that they live in, and there's a proper way to handle batteries. Sometimes you can take batteries back to Batteries Plus. Sometimes you can take batteries back to like Lowe's, and they can dispose of them properly. So that's a major problem. The other thing that we deal with is sometimes we get sticks or needles or those type of things that end up in the recycling bin. So that's an issue as well. In this facility, we kind of get that material away from the stream before any human being actually touches the material. But those are the two things from a safety standpoint that are really important to us.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I know that you're going to transition to our next location, but as you are transitioning, we want to showcase one of Rumpke's amazing workers. So we're going to hear from the maintenance manager, Joe Savage.
My name's Joe Savage. I'm the MRF maintenance manager, and I'm in charge of making sure that the facility runs and it's clean and everything is up to date, and we have parts on the shelf to make sure in case of breakdown. Well, it's unique. I went to art school, and a friend of a friend was employed with Rumpke and started talking to him about it. Next thing you know, I became extremely interested in what was going on here, and one thing led to another, and I'm fortunate to be a part of the team. It's rather difficult to pick just one, to be honest with you. This company is fantastic. Rumpke's family owned, you feel it. The simple answer would be the people that I work with and for. Well, the advice I would give is do your research. really look into the possibilities of the industry. There's so much unknown. I think we tend to look at construction and say, hey, that's how I'm going to use my trade. And there's a whole lot more there. I employ people 24/7 that are in charge of industrial maintenance tasks, high level things that can be taught, and you can make a heck of a living. And it's a very important role.
Jeff, we see that you're at a new location. I was wondering if you could tell everyone who is tuned in right now, where are you and what's happening at that location?
Yeah, so I walked outside of our education center. Now I'm at our pre-sort area. And pre-sort for us really means a couple of things. First of all, this is the next step in the process where human beings actually see the material for the first time and do what we call kind of a pre-sort on the material. And really what we're focused on here is any trash that would be in the stream. We want to get any bulky metals, any bulky plastics, or those type of things. And the reason we want to do that, why it's so critically important, is that it gets those things out immediately before we actually go down to the rest of the facility, so we don't damage the equipment and it doesn't slow down or jam up our equipment. So any questions around that, Abby?
I do have a few questions, kind of a combined question from Miss D's class as well as Mr. Carroll's. What do you do if you do discover some hazardous material in that pre-sort? And what about things such as wild animals that happen to have accidentally got in?
Yeah, so, and we do, that's a great question. Listen, we have to deal with all those things, right? So if we get hazardous materials, our workers are use a lot of PPE. In other words, they not only have puncture resistant gloves on, but they also have sleeves that come up to protect any skin from coming in contact with any hazardous material. You know, from time to time, you'll find a raccoon, or you'll find during hunting season, right? People like to drop deer heads or whatever in the recycling bin, and we have to deal with that. So we do have to get those things out, and we do end up where I'm standing here. You can kind of see all these bunkers around me. Each one of these bunkers has a different purpose. One of them is for metals, one is for bulky plastics, one of them is for trash, and one is for plastic bags, right? So these plastic bags that come across the MRF, we really don't want these in the stream because they go everywhere. There's a way to deal with plastic bags. So we're trying to get all that material off and be able to make sure that the material going downstream gets sorted effectively.
And right before we transition to the next location, I'm getting a lot of questions specifically about how does one get into this position? How do you get into a career to do pre-sort or to run some of these machines we saw in the tipping floor?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for really good people to help us out in our material recovery facilities. So you can go on rumpke.com and all of our job postings are on there. So if you go into the city of Columbus, you're going to see laborer positions on there. So folks can apply for those positions, and then we can get them in and be able to get them to work, right? So we only use in this facility, because of our technology, I say only, we use 13 to 14 sorters per shift. And these sorters are a little bit unique when you think about a material recovery facility, when you think about Rumpke. Our folks are highly trained. They can go in and do preventative maintenance. They can go into any of our equipment and be able to troubleshoot it. So yes, they are sorting materials, and we're doing all that here on the conveyor belts, but they also do a lot of other things in the facility besides just sort recyclables.
Jeff, how fast is the conveyor belt moving? That's from Mrs. H's class. And then also you mentioned plastics. Mr. Miller's class wants to know, why can we not accept the plastics?
Yep. He is moving at about 150 feet a minute. So if you kind of think about how fast that's going, you want to put all of the material into that overall tonnage. The facility right now is running 55 tons an hour. So all this material you see on this belt and this belt, remember, I took the 5-inch and minus stuff away. So we don't even see that. So that's another part of the stream that's going underneath the equipment. The reason that you can't take plastic bags is a couple of reasons. First of all, if I told everybody that plastic bags were acceptable in the recycling bin, I would have millions of these in this MRF. And And the problem with that is they go everywhere. They're very light. The area of them is really big, but they're really light, so they go everywhere. And because of the 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional separation or paper from container separation we do in this plant, these end up going with our fiber. And when they go with our fiber, they contaminate our paper. And when they contaminate our paper, the paper mills don't like us very much. So we ask that everybody take these out. These can go back to your grocery store, and they get turned back into like Trex decking or plastic decking. It's very clean when you take it back to your grocery store. When it comes into this type of environment with everybody else's recycling, this has a tendency to get dirty and gritty. So we really like to have this segregated out.
And Jeff, I know that you're about to transition, but I'm excited about this last question, which is actually for our board members, which we're so grateful. He was wanting to know, talking about plastics, do you guys accept anything that are type 1 plastic?
We do. We take all number 1 plastic. So that would be all your bottles, all your plastic PET cups, all your plastic thermoforms or clamshells, and then all of your colored PET. So think about Mountain Dew and those type of things as well. So yes, we take all PET number 1 plastic, which are mostly bottles and cups. We also take, and thermoforms, we also take number 2 plastic, which is your milk jugs, your detergent containers, your shampoo bottles, those type of things. And then we also take number 5 plastic, which is going to be all your polypropylene. So that's going to be yogurt, cottage cheese, sour cream, all of those things. McDonald's fast food cups, Taco Bell, Starbucks, those type of things. So yes, we want all those plastics, 1s, 2s, and 5s, bottles, jugs, tubs, and cups.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I know that you're about to move to your next transition, Jeff. And as we do that, we're going to hear from another one of Rumpke's amazing employees. This is Becky Reichenbach. She's the recycling marketing manager, and she's going to tell a little bit about what she does and how she got into her role.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky Reichenbach. I am the Corporate Recycling Marketing Manager for Rumpke Waste and Recycling. I support our 15 recycling plants move finished product into the circular economy. So in high school, I really loved physical sciences. So I ended up going to Purdue University and have an environmental studies degree. And after college, I embarked my career in the waste and recycling industry. I started my career by giving tours of a recycling plant back in Chicago. And I've been in the industry, now this is my 30th year. Part of it was on the waste hauling side, and then the bulk of it is on the recycling side. So definitely in this industry, there are no 2 days that are the same. And that is absolutely what I love about my job. Every day is different. We have new challenges, new opportunities. In the circular economy, a lot is changing and advancing. So I also get to learn about crazy new things that companies are doing with recyclable feedstock. So I just really love that. I do want to mention, I love also, there are a lot of great people in this industry. So I love all of the team at Rumpke, and then all of the people who are consuming our recyclable goods, be it at a paper mill or a glass furnace. I really enjoy all the wonderful people that are in this industry. I would definitely say, just because of the fact that no 2 days are the same. So if you want to get into a career or a path that you can keep learning, things are evolving and progressing, go for it, right? Like, talk to people about it, come here and learn about it, connect with there are a lot of groups in this industry, so there are a lot of ways to get connected and learn more about it. And it's really important for our future. So there really is a sense that I'm helping my children and their children's children by doing the right thing and recycling a lot of our bodies.
So now that we're back, Jeff, would you mind explaining where you are now?
Yeah, so I made a quick pit stop here at the paper conveyors because I wanted really people to understand what happens to all the junk mail, all those different types of papers that end up in your recycling. And it's from your kids' school papers to junk mail to what holds your yogurt, right? So all this paper that comes through our facility, fiber is about 60% of the stream. And because of that, all this paper we sell right here in Central Ohio, and it's going back into corrugated boxes. This paper you see in front of us right now will be a corrugated box within 5 to 7 days. So the turn on paper is very, very fast. We're going to kind of walk towards the container side. So this is, when I say containers, this is plastic, steel, aluminum, those type of things. And as you walk over here, you're going to notice there's hardly any people over here. And what's really unique about our facility is that we're sorting plastics, aluminum, and steel, and we're doing it all with automation. We're all doing it with all technology. Well, we use near infrared optics in correlation with artificial intelligence to identify the different substrates, and then to take a yellow milk jug and segregate it from a clear milk jug, right? And it goes in 2 separate areas. So, you know, the excitement around being able to sort high density polyethylene, and then our aluminum cans are what we call UBCs, which stands for used beverage containers. So our aluminum cans are one of the materials that actually gets made back into an aluminum can. So there's no reason aluminum cans should ever go to the landfill. We want as many of those cans as we can possibly get. There's a huge demand for recycled UBCs or aluminum cans, and we can sort every single bit of those. There are 4 smelters in the United States where aluminum cans go to be made back into aluminum can. This particular material is going down to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, where it is made back into a sheet. That sheet is then rolled and then laid back out and pressed back into aluminum can, and it goes right back on the shelf. So aluminum cans are such a great sustainable story. We love them, right? We want to continue to get more of them. So questions around that, Abby?
Yes, Mrs. Bricker's class would like to know, do the aluminum cans have to be crushed? And another question was regarding what if liquid is still inside some of these jugs or cans?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the crushing of the aluminum can. So every time that a recycling truck comes and picks up material at your house or at a drop-off, it goes into a compaction truck. A compaction truck allows us to put more material in the truck, which allows us to be more efficient. So because of that, it doesn't really matter to us if the can gets crushed. But if you look at these cans coming off this conveyor belt and in this bunker, you're going to notice that probably over 95% of them are crushed. And that's just part of the process of picking up recycling and putting it into a truck and then bringing it to our plant. And that's typical across the country, right? Well, Rumpke is no different than anywhere else in the country when it comes to that. If you look at the plastic containers that come through here, you're going to notice the same thing. Most of those containers do not look like what they look like when you bought them in the grocery store. So they're going to be crushed, they're going to be flattened. And it's not that we prefer them that way. We kind of do because they don't move around on the belts as much. But that's just the nature of how we pick up recycling.
And then could you also let us know with the rinsing, how thoroughly did items need to be rinsed before we?
Yeah, absolutely. What we ask people to do is put recycling in the recycling bin, clean and dry. And listen, I'm not asking folks to go to your sink and grab a sponge and rinse out a yogurt container. What we ask people to do is just give it a rinse. Give it a rinse and then put it in your recycling bin. We don't expect every bit of food waste to be out of say a yogurt container or a peanut butter jar, right? That's really hard to get all that out of there. But we expect people to put forth a little bit of effort and try to get as much food waste out of the container as they can.
Mrs. Mills' class was wanting to know, out of all of these materials that are getting reused, how do the manufacturers gather these reused materials?
Yeah, so we're going to show you here in a minute about how we ship these materials to the folks, the end users, or the folks that we sell to. And then what happens is that they are going to flake it or pelletize it at those places. They're going to clean it. They're going to make sure it's all PET, all polypropylene, all HDPE. They're going to make sure it's clean, and then they're going to market that that material back to the brands. So I want you to think about Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is PET. They want more post-consumer or more recycled content in their packaging. So because of that, they're going to go out and try to get as much PET as they can, recycled PET, which is called rPET, and they're going to try to get that rPET back into the new bottles that they're making. So it's extremely important that, you know, we try to get more material. There is a huge problem in the United States that these brands and these folks can't get enough recycled material to make enough, to put enough content in the new packaging. So listen, we only recycle 33% of the water bottles in the United States. That means 70% of them, over 70% of them is going to the landfill today. So we need to do better. We need to get more PET, more aluminum, more milk jugs, all right? We need to get all that out of the stream and get it to a place like this where we can sort it and get it back into new products.
Perfect. Well, I'll have you switch to the next location, which kind of talks about what you were just speaking on. So we're going to be moving over to the balers. And as Mr. Snyder is going to head over there to show a little bit about the baling, we're going to watch a quick video regarding the glass that does come into Rumpke. So we can just go ahead and transition over to that.
This area is where we recover glass and process cardboard or other fiber material collected from commercial customers. When bulk cardboard comes to us clean, meaning it's not contaminated with other materials, we run it on a dedicated conveyor belt, bale it separately, and prep it for transportation without running it through the entire process. This saves time, money, and wear and tear on the machines. We don't process glass in this facility, but glass is a valuable and eternally recyclable material. So we work to pull glass from the rest of the material early in the process to keep it from the landfill. After the glass is separated, it's collected, prepped, and shipped to Rumpke's one-of-a-kind glass plant in Dayton, Ohio, where we process about 70,000 tons of glass annually.
So Jeff will be transitioning over in a second to the balers. And what we're going to be seeing is all of the different kind of types of trash that are compacted together in a couple of the different machines that are orchestrating that. Jeff, can you show us and explain a little bit and kind of give us an idea of how much recycling truly leaves your plant each day?
Yeah, so I said that we bring in about 700 to 750 tons a day on the inbound side of the facility. On the outbound side, we are about 12 to 13% residual or trash that's in the recyclables. This facility recovers over 98% of the recyclables that we put in the recycling bin, which is a very, very high recovery rate, which is really, really important to Rumpke. So here you see behind me, we ship in between 35 and 40 truckloads a day of all these different commodities. So you saw what it looked like at the beginning of the process. You can see all the bales stacked up very neatly. You can identify all the different grades of material, whether it's paper or whether it's plastic or whether it's aluminum or steel. And once we get full truckloads of material, our marketing team will take over from there and they will market this material to all of the end users. 80% of everything you see in front of you is staying right here in the state of Ohio, which is incredibly a great sustainability story when you think about jobs and you think about a milk jug goes back into something that goes back on the shelf that you and I touch again right here in Ohio. So we love that story. It's a great story. We're very lucky to have end users in Ohio that can really help us. All this material gets baled on a baler. You can kind of look behind here and you can see the bales coming out of the baler. These particular bales are PET thermoforms, color, and cups. So it's going to be all your Mountain Dew bottles, all your Fairlife dairy. It's going to be all your clamshells and all of your PET cups. So that is a grade that is onto itself. And we stack it over here to my right. And once we get a full truckload of it, we market it out in the marketplace. So we have 4 balers that bale all the material and get it ready to go onto trucks. Questions around that, Abby?
Yes, I have one question before we transition, and that's from Mrs. Tompkins' class. She was wanting to know, or her class was wanting to know, how many hours a day does the plant operate?
Yeah, so we start at 6:30 in the morning and we operate until 2 o'clock every single day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. and then we shut down at 2 o'clock, and then we fire up our second shift at 4 o'clock. So that 2-hour period in between first and second shift allows us to do some housekeeping, some preventative maintenance, and get ready for the second shift. The second shift will run from 4 in the afternoon until midnight. And then at midnight to 6 a.m., we have 8 maintenance people that work on third shift, and we do all of our preventative maintenance in the plant. Make sure all of our conveyor belts are tracking right, all of our optics and all of our ballistic separators and all of our conveyors are working the way they're supposed to. And we PM them or preventive maintenance them and make sure they're ready for the next day.
We have so many questions coming in, Jeff. I'm so excited for you to answer them. We'll have you transition over because a lot of them are specifically about what we're going to hit next, which is the marketplace. So as Jeff and the team head up to the education center, we're going to do our last transition with one of Rumpke's employees, Jake Heffron, who is a sales representative. So I'd love for you guys to check out what Jake does at the municipal level.
My name is Jake Heffron. I am the municipal and public sector representative for Rumpke here in the Columbus area. So I cover 5 counties in central Ohio. And my job directly is working with local municipalities or government entities on trash and recycling contracts. Since this new facility's opened, focus has shifted more to helping municipalities and government entities help reach their sustainability goals, keep waste out of the landfill, and help recycle more. So I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. I attended university at Ohio University, graduated with degrees in business analytics and management information systems with a minor in supply chain management. I graduated in 2021, so all of my internships got canceled and graduated with no real work experience. So I struggled finding a job directly out of college, and I was more looking for a company that I could grow in more than a job that I love. So I interviewed at Rumpke, not knowing what to expect, and saw that I could grow in this company, and here I am 4 years later almost. So there are 2 things that I really, really love about my job. One of them is helping people solve problems, and the other is the people that I get to work with. So from operations team to customer service to all of the local municipalities, school districts, government agencies that I get to work with, collaborating with all of them together to help, increase the value that we can bring these people is what I really love about my job. My advice to you guys, especially the high schoolers and 8th graders, is to keep an open mind. I had no idea when I was your age what I wanted to be doing, and definitely never thought I would be in the trash and recycling industry. What I've learned in this industry is that there is a wide circular economy with jobs in every single department. Operations, sales, customer service, marketing, you name it, there's a job in this industry for you. And I had no idea when I was your age. So my advice to you would be to find a company or an industry that you love and that you think you can grow.
So we've gotten a lot of questions, Jeff, regarding all of these careers, and we're so grateful for Rumpke and interviewing such amazing people. My first kind of career-focused question before we jump over to the market side is Mrs. Dela Cruz's class was wanting to know, do you offer any internships for high school or college students, either paid or unpaid?
We do. So we do that in our communications department. I haven't done it in the corporate recycling team yet, but I'm open to it. So I think that's an opportunity. We also do some of that in our hauling operations and our landfill operations. So yes, we are open to those conversations. Listen, at the end of the day, we want to make sure we have the right people. And if we have people that are kind of interested in sustainability and recycling and waste, we want to foster that energy.
Another question from Mrs. McDaniel's class is they were wanting to know, talking about things being automated, some of those conveyor belts that are going slower to look over the automations and kind of assessing the different colors. Do you think that these are going to be jobs that are obsolete soon, where AI is going to take over everything, or are we always going to be needing people in these roles?
No, I don't think those jobs are going to go away anytime soon. And here's why. Artificial intelligence uses a camera technology and identifies recycling by shape, color, and size. And in order for AI to be effective, it has to be able to learn over time. And when it learns over time, it has to be able to see. And if it can't see the material spread out on a conveyor belt, then it's very difficult for AI to be effective and be accurate when it thinks about probability and how it needs to react. So there's always going to be a need, especially in high volume facilities like this one. There's going to be a need of people that can really kind of go through the material and see the material and see it more effectively. Now, listen, if we could run that conveyor belt instead of 150 feet a minute, we could run it 600 feet a minute. All that material would be really spread out, but there's no way anybody would be able to sort it effectively. There's just too much volume coming in. So no, I think there's always going to be a need for some manual sorting in a material recovery facility. But I will tell you, over the last 5 to 8 years, it has reduced because of AI and because of the technology that's out there. But there's always going to be areas of the plant that we're going to have to use manual sorters.
And then the last one regarding careers that I'm seeing right now before we switch over is there a way, seeing this facility and of course seeing that beautiful education center, is it open to the public, or is it open to classrooms as far as getting into the career and talking through communications?
Yeah, absolutely. So our facility is open to 10 years and older, so fourth graders and higher. That's really what we kind of focus on. So we have tons of school groups come in here, and we give a full tour. We have groups of 30 to 40, sometimes 50 kids come in here and they bus in. We have colleges come in here. We have just adult groups that come in here, whether you're part of a gardening group or just an environmental group or those type of things. Everybody wants to understand that what happens to the material after it leaves my house. And we can tell that story. When we built this facility, we didn't want it to be just a typical material recovery facility. We really wanted it to be a destination where people can come and learn about what happens. And I'm talking about everything from the time you go to the grocery store. Here, see here to my left, we kind of have a mock grocery store. And listen, we don't always have a choice about packaging when we go and buy the things that we buy, but sometimes we do. And I'm holding an egg carton. This is a styrofoam egg carton. Instead of buying this, why not buy a paper egg carton, right? Those are the type of decisions that we're hoping that the public can make better by understanding different packaging. Now, on this shelf, there's some things that are recyclable and there's some things that are not recyclable. So the idea is to continue to teach folks about packaging when we go to the grocery store. And when it gets to our house, what do we do with it? So that's what we talk about, and we try to really educate people about that.
I have a few questions regarding recycling itself. So when it comes to the materials beside you and behind you, what is kind of best as far as what are some things that we can do and do our part once we're in a market and buying products? Could you kind of give a few suggestions, just like the one you gave with the egg carton?
Yeah, so stay away from foam plates. Right? Styrofoam plates. Styrofoam does not work in a material recovery facility. That's not to say styrofoam as a product is not recyclable. The problem with styrofoam, when it runs through here, because of how it's made, it kind of goes everywhere. It's very tough to bale. It's very light and it kind of goes everywhere. So we'd like to stay away from styrofoam. So we really focus on that. We focus on not using plastic cutlery, right? Instead of using plastic in this facility, we don't have any plastic cutlery except for in here because we try to educate. So we actually have dishwashers in this plant where we wash forks and spoons when we have people that come in. So that's how critical it is. So we really want to focus on those type of things that are on the acceptable items list that we put out that we know we can sort. Here's what makes something recyclable. we have to be able to sort it, and we have to have multiple end users that can turn it back into something new. If I can't answer yes to that when you think about packaging, then that package is not recyclable.
Mrs. Andrews' class was wanting to know, what ways is recycling truly helping the environment?
Yeah, so as I think about recycling for the environment, there's a couple things that go on there. We're using our landfills for what our landfills are meant for. And our landfills are not meant for packaging that we can turn back into new products. Specifically, as I think about paper, aluminum, steel, glass, and PET bottles. You know, everybody wants to talk about, you know, plastics are bad, single-use plastics are bad, they're horrible, and we need to get away from plastics. And listen, it may happen in our lifetime, but right now plastics are a vital part of not only putting food in, but putting consumer goods in. So plastics can be recycled, right? And if you prep them accordingly, and you empty them and you dry them and you put it in the recycling bin like how we want it. And I think about a PET water bottle, right? Everybody talks about this PET cap, this polypropylene cap. That cap needs to go back on the water bottle. And the reason for that is, and you're thinking, well, wait a minute, these are two different plastics, and they are. But if this gets loose in the recycling bin, this contaminates our glass because it's so small, I can't recover it. So if it goes back on here, when this bottle goes to Evergreen Plastics or Phoenix Technologies, who's going to make a new bottle out of this, they will grind this entire bottle and they will put it in water. And because polypropylene floats and PET sinks, they can segregate the two and get it into different streams. So that's kind of how that works. So we work hand in hand with our end users as well. So it's not all about what we do here at the MRF. We work with our end users to prepare packaging so that they can handle it as well and turn it back into new products.
Sounds great. So I had a couple of people ask specifically about the clamshells. What are these clamshells? And they now can be recyclable. Could you show those maybe up close of what the clamshell is?
Yeah, so a clamshell is, I have one here, right? It's got a lid. So think about strawberries and blueberries and some egg. If you go to Costco, eggs kind of come in this as well, but it's got a hinge on it. And this is made of PET. Traditionally, in our old facilities and most facilities across the country, you can't tell the difference between these two products because they're both PET. But because I have AI in this facility and I can take a picture of this by shape, color, and size, I can now identify it and tell this to go one direction and tell this to go the other direction. So because I can sort it and because I have a place that can turn this back into something new, this cannot be turned back into a water bottle. All right, so this has to go to a different place. This goes to a PET place down in Kingsport, Tennessee, where they turn this back into a gray pellet after they grind it and extrude it. That gray pellet goes back to places like Procter & Gamble and goes back into colored PET products like Herbal Essence, Tide Pods, all those containers that are kind of colored but are PET. Fairlife Dairy is another one that comes to mind. So that's where this type of material can get made back into. But the reason it's never been accepted before is because we couldn't sort it. The industry couldn't sort it, but now with AI we can.
Well, Jeff, I unfortunately have to pull this to a close, and I am very sad about it because we are so grateful for you. We want to thank everyone who participated in our careers virtual field trip. We're going to try our best to get some of those questions that we did not answer live to get answered. Thank you so much, Jeff, for hosting. The trip was amazing, and hopefully we sparked some curiosity on recycling with some.
Yeah, come see us. Come see us anytime.
Yeah, the recording of this trip, everyone, will be available on Ohio Energy Project's YouTube channel after this event. And our next virtual field trip will be available in the fall. So be looking for us next school year. If you are a teacher who has not logged in and joined our newsletter, please make sure that you do so. That's also available on our website. And that'll keep you up to date on all of our programs so that we can see wonderful events like we saw here today. Again, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you next time.